Yeah. Oh, yeah, that works. That works good. That works good. Welcome. I guess we'll give people just a moment to find us and to join in.
If I shared the right link.
That's also, a positive. It's a good start. Let's give people a moment to come in. I had actually completely forgot up until my wife was like, "Are you gonna go live?" I was like, oh, "Yeah, probably."
I was wondering because I hadn't heard from you. I'm glad I reached out.
Yep, yep. I went and got my hair cut.
Ah,
I had a great time getting my hair cut,
well,
and then we went to the grocery store, and then I had some delicious French bread, garlic cheese pizzas.
ooh, anything with cheese and garlic is good.
Yeah,
So what you drinking?
I am drinking today. The bamboo.
The good stuff.
Yeah, this is the bamboo. Actually, this is only like $40, I think, for the bottle. But man, it is delicious.
Okay. Looks like we have our guests are in the back.
All right, we got some good. So I guess we might as well get this road on the show.
Okay.
I, of course, am. I'm pretty sure you can see my name down there. That's me. And then next to me is psychic extraordinaire MaryLynn Bast. Together, we are Sidekicks Paranormal.
Oh.
Can you see my name?
I can Booty Snoopalus.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. People mess up my last name all the time. I get that.
Okay.
I get that a
So did
lot.
I say it correctly?
You did. You
Okay.
did. Close enough.
Close enough. So how
Yeah.
do you say it?
Snoopulous.
Snoopulus. Okay.
Yes, you were really like B plus.
Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah, people they usually say, hey, old booty," or they just call me Booty Snoops for short.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't want to know why you got that nickname.
Yeah. Well, I know it's my real name. It's my real name. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Booty Snoops is just short because Snoopulous can be a lot to say. So Booty Snoops.
There you go.
All right. Should we go ahead and I guess before we even bring them in, today's episode is going to revolve greatly around libraries. No, that's not right. It's going to be mostly about dreams and past lives.
Yes.
So this is going to be a great episode for people that want to know more about maybe interpretations of what they're dreaming, and if you believe in past lives, or maybe you don't, and you're just trying to get maybe another opinion or just a different perspective, this could definitely be a great show for you.
Yep. And our guests are very well versed in dreams and all the paranormal as well. So do you want to go ahead and bring them in?
Yeah, we're going to introduce Gypsy Witch Paranormal. They are slightly new to the investigative scene. However, they're a big deal in the South Dakota region.
That's where we met them.
That's where we met them, and the North Dakota, the West Dakota, even the East Dakota, all the Dakota.
All the Dakotas.
Every of the Dakotas, folks.
So without further ado, we're going to bring in Michelle and Charity.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
What's going on?
It's cold and the weather sucks.
Yeah.
What's
So
the
there now?
dartboard?
It's a dartboard that my husband made and programmed, and yeah, we're down in the dungeon, or the Marvel dungeon as we call it.
Okay.
There's a whole bunch of Marvel stuff all up on the walls down here.
Oh, okay.
Ball machine over there, dartboard.
So it's kind of a game room.
Yes. What
Pretty much.
what liquor are you imbibing?
We don't have anything.
We don't.
Okay. Well then, pause. Go get something. Come right back.
Go get one of your
They're down here.
Yeah.
All right.
That's how you have to play the game. I don't make the rules.
I'm doing my fireball.
Okay, good. Good.
We're not big liquor drinkers, so we're gonna get something
Would you like a margarita?
that fits in that space.
Liquor? I barely know her.
Ohio.
Blackberry lemon.
I'll try it. Functional seltzer.
So while we're getting
Functional seltzer.
see all the stuff we got, everything-
Nice.
Nice.
Oh, goody.
we are ready
right,
for the event
so-
next week.
Got them.
Checking out Ohio
What are those?
seltzer.
Is it alcoholic?
They're they're craft mocktails.
Yes.
Mocktails.
Fine.
Next time I'll have a bottle of something down here and we can do shots.
It's like
There
you've
you
never seen the show before. Unbelievable. Okay. Cheers.
All right, that works.
Beautiful.
You want to say hi?
Yes. Hello.
We have
Oh.
Loki.
Oh, that's your Loki?
Blue healer.
Yeah.
Loki.
Oh, I have a Loki too. And my Loki is a terror. He's a Aussie Shepherd.
He likes to
Yep,
chew
that's
your
what he
face
is.
off.
He's down here chasing my one cat around, so you'll probably hear me yell at him about 4,000 times.
Oh, there's Patrick.
He's actually there in Las Vegas on the strip.
Wow.
But he's on the strip.
I know.
Nice.
Dang.
He needs a shot. I'm sure he can probably find one.
Probably. I think he's
Right?
probably already having a beer.
Mm.
We have more people in the guest slot, but I'm guessing that I
I
think,
probably sent the wrong link.
I think Marilyn made a boo-boo, but that's okay.
Oops.
They can enjoy from there.
We can bring everybody on.
Hey! South of Strip. Okay. All right. So we had a little bit of a conversation via Tickety Talk, and we kind of got into talking about a little bit of the dreamscapes, and I think M. Dizzle, you were there. So what is your opinion on? Do you feel like there is like a relative connection between dreaming and the paranormal?
I think so. I mean, I think if you talk about the paranormal as a whole, a good example is I actually have had an experience dreaming about a spirit that I didn't know had somehow entered into my apartment. Was not a nice spirit, but had entered into my dream so much so that what I had seen in the dream was my physical bedroom just flipped a different direction. And it felt so not dreamlike in the moment that I actually, this spirit was unfortunately attached to my ex-husband, was a female spirit, was being very possessive. He was actually acting strange. He was in a hotel in Omaha, and they had put him on, of all places, the 13th floor, because this was a hotel that had one. And I told him, he said, I'm the only person up here. And I said, you need to change rooms immediately. Go to a different floor.
That's incredible.
I had actually seen a physical manifestation of the spirit hovering around him while I was talking to him, and he was getting progressively more aggressive as he would communicate with me. Wasn't the nicest human, but this was outside of the
What do you
usual.
using gang signs?
Yes. And when I encountered her, she actually came out of my closet. I have a strange behavioral phobia of open closet doors. It's existed my entire life as a child. Yay! Okay, and I think it's just because of my experiences as a child. I've probably seen things that I can't quite recall what I've seen through an open closet door, so I like them to be closed. I also hate mirrors. So that's another thing I don't enjoy. But I'd actually opened the closet door in my dream, and she came at me and grabbed me. And I remember I screamed in her face and actually woke up screaming.
How
she
did
disappeared out of my dream.
How did she grab you? Was it like this or like this?
Definitely not this. She wasn't
Okay.
interested in that.
Oh,
More
yes.
like I
Your
want to
neck.
kill you.
Okay. You
Neck-
never know.
neck throttle.
Janie, Scott, Brandon, how are you guys doing? Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. So this is all in your dream, right?
hmm
And then come to find out that that you felt like this was actually happening now that you're awake. You could still feel some of these entities.
I think that she
Not just that
Nice,
she came
Patrick.
out of the closet.
She did.
I think that the higher version of myself, the more conscious version of myself, was actually active in the moment that she was there, and it was a interaction between the two of them, her trying to push her out. She was not welcome, and to make it clear that she wasn't welcome. So
Mhm.
even though me was asleep, I also think the other half of me was very much awake and actually doing this in the moment, and me in my human form was dreaming of this experience.
So what were you doing in your Pokemon form?
Usually when I'm in my Pokemon form, I am trying to attack something
Okay.
efficiently, but sometimes my trainer picks the wrong move.
I
And so
I'm like, bro,
what
just
can you
put me
do?
back in the ball. You know what I mean? So okay, that's great. Charity, do you have anything that's kind of like dream to reality, some connection?
I would say a lot of I will have dreams about places that we're going to, and I don't know now. I got to tell you, my mind goes into overload, and I research like a crazed person to the point where I'll go down a rabbit hole and be stuck at a computer for hours researching a location because I love it. I love the
Yeah.
history and all that background.
Do you
But
Google
then I'll
Maps?
dream about a place, and half of the time, like when we walked into the Franklin when we were in Deadwood, and I hadn't been there in a while, and I walked in and I immediately went, well, this is different. It just, the energy was different. Everything was different because normally that place, when I would walk into that place, I would get so angry right away. I would go into a rage.
Wow.
And I never understood what it was until I started figuring out what was really happening. But I'll dream about places, kind of have that deja vu type dream where I'm like, yep, I've been here before. I've seen this before. I think
Deja vu is a big thing. Yeah.
a lot of paranormal investigators will talk about it. I mean, what popped in my head, and I'm going to say this, he shall not be named in the paranormal world. We just won't say it. Actually had
What?
made a comment one time that he has a lot of those dream state things where he will dream about locations ahead of time. And this was back when he wasn't quite the D. So
Mhm.
I kind of believe him a little
I
bit.
feel you.
So yeah, I mean, I do think there's a link, and I also think it's a lot of. I do think you have some paranormal investigators out there that are not what we consider ourselves to be, which is, we're sensitives. I wouldn't say I'm
Oh my God.
psychic, or maybe a little bit, but I think there's a lot that respect that side because you almost have to if you're investigating,
Yes.
but they don't fully embrace it and go down that path because maybe it's scary, maybe it's just, it's not something they want to do. But I think in any respect with paranormal, you almost have to have some kind of that link. I've talked to people that they'll talk about investigating a place or something like that, and I will talk with them for a while, and then 2 days later they'll come back and say, I had the weirdest dream and you were in it, and I never dream about people or things. And I'm like, okay, creepy, don't do that again. But once you start letting some of that stuff into your life and opening yourself up to a lot of that, I think the paranormal directly ties in with what you're dreaming. I mean, it's
Yeah.
you're in a waking state or a dreaming state.
So let me throw it at you like this.
Oh,
And what you think, this is kind of for everyone here. What would you make of this? So when I was younger, we all, myself and my best friend, well, we always felt like there was this dark creature always coming after us, right? That was kind of like our thing. And but it was mostly in fun, right? It was mostly in fun. However, one night we were 12. That'd be about 12. We had gotten in a bunch of trouble. I was currently residing at Stevie's house. His name was Stevie, at his house. And his mom had railed us because we had gotten messy in the room. And she was like, you guys better clean shit out of this room. So we're like, okay, fine. So we spend the whole day. That's how terribly dirty we were. We spent the entire day, cleaned the whole room up. It was great. We went to sleep that night. We both had this dream that this creature had come through the window. And the only way I could describe it is kind of, I don't think anybody's ever seen the movie Split Second. So the next closest comparison would be something akin to like Venom. Okay. Had come through the window and was actively looking for us, but could not, for some reason, find us. But it went through everything looking for us and then left. We woke up in the morning and our entire room was trashed. The curtains were slashed. The curtains were slashed. The walls were slashed. Our toy box had been ripped open. All of the toys were all over the place. And we got in trouble because they thought we just woke up in the middle of the night and went and got nuts. Right. But that's always stuck with me because it was a dream, but did something else happen or was that real? Like it's so weird how and how that happened and what had happened. So what are your thoughts on something like that, MaryLynn?
Well, for me, it's like, what were you doing before that brought something in? Were you trying to do anything that was spiritually bringing things in? Or
I was 12. I was probably just beating my wiener, you know?
Probably so. Hopefully not in front of your friend.
I'm not going to say I hadn't been caught once or twice, you know? But that's the thing. Like, I can't, I mean, none of us, there was really no religious talk in the house.
So did you have anything happen after that, or was that the only time it happened?
Oh no, it continued for probably another 3-4 years.
And the parents never figured that out, that it wasn't you guys?
Well, that's the interesting thing is that I only stayed there for a few months. And then I was constantly moving from that point forward for pretty much the rest of my life.
So was it doing it just to him then, or for the next 3 years, or it was doing it to you?
Yeah, to me specifically. Yeah.
It's manifesting off of him.
Yeah, because I mean, at one point me and Stevie, we wound up going our separate ways shortly thereafter. But yeah, it was definitely something it's stuck with me. Yeah, probably up until I was about 15. And then it just kind of about 15, 16, it just kind of faded away. It was when I moved in with my dad and things just kind of changed. I kind of got settled in and started working. And then I guess I just thought less about it and I wouldn't have any other weird encounter until I turned about 18, 19. And that was the thing in the park.
You didn't tell me about the thing in the park.
Yes. So you know about the thing in the park where the water. So, okay. So have you heard the story?
Nope.
I swear I told somebody. No,
You probably told somebody, but not me.
Okay. So
which park is it? I know it's there in Vegas.
Yeah. So where Sam Boyd Stadium is,
Yes.
there's a park right there. And me, my buddy Sean, my buddy Barron, we had just wrapped up doing some music, some recording, and we were it was late, probably like 2 in the morning, maybe. So the only place around us that we could get food to eat, because we stayed up till like 4 or 5 in the morning normally, was Jack in the Box. So we went to Jack in the Box, but you had to go through the drive-through. You couldn't go inside, so we couldn't eat there. So we grabbed the food. We're like, well, where can we go to chillax and eat? Because we didn't want to go all the way to the house because it was too far away. The food would get cold. It was a whole thing, okay? So we decide on this park. We stop at the park. We get out. We're eating next to the car. And the next thing you know, we're kind of walking into the playground area of the park, which they had like a slide and like the swing set, that type of deal. And we're eating, and then next thing you know, we're swinging on the swings and we're eating, and the next thing you know, we're giggling and laughing and having a great time. And then it hits us that we don't swing, we don't typically laugh and giggle, and it's 2 in the morning, and what is going on? And it hit all of us pretty much like that. And we went, wait a second, something doesn't feel right. So we start looking around, and the park is, so we're in like the playground area is just like this little square, right? And this is all the rest of the park, right? So, and then like this square here, this is like a baseball diamond. So all this is all like soccer field. It's all green grass.
Right.
And so we feel like we need to go this way. So we kind of walk off and we start walking this way. And when we get to about here, all the sprinklers for this section come on. Now we've gotten past it. No big deal. So we keep walking, and we're just kind of walking, and it's quiet. It's dark. Once we get to the next section, sprinklers come on, and these sprinklers turn off. Okay, I don't know much about sprinklers, but that's fine. And then we continue walking, and then it happens again. And at that point, we're about 2/3 of the way into this soccer area. And we all realize something doesn't feel right. So we all look at each other, and I go, this doesn't look right. Something doesn't feel right. And then Baron, the youngest of us, he says, I'm pretty sure I saw something I saw something inside the water, and it looked like it was, the only way he could describe it was some type of thing on stilts. And then we said, and so we said, okay, it's time for us to go. We turn around, we start to walk, all of the sprinklers in the entire park come on. We book it, we run, we drive to someone. By this time, it's like 3:30 in the morning. We get to my buddy's house. The second we walk out, we're walking by his front lawn to go in. His sprinklers come on. We get inside. Nobody sleeps. Doors slam. Lights come on and off. TVs come on and off. It's just really uncomfortable. The next day, we decide to go back to the park. On the way to the park, as we leave his house, his front lawn sprinklers come on. This is the middle of the day because remember, we were tired, we're up late.
And those are usually on timers.
Always on timers. So now we're pretty freaked at this point. We go back to the park and we park and we're just staring. We're staring at the lawn. We're just waiting. Finally, we're like, well, they're not going to come on. So we get out of our car, but we're still really cautious to step onto the park. So we're walking along the parking lot, following the football field, the soccer field. And then finally I go, this is ridiculous, dude. Like, what are we doing? So I go and I step on the grass. I put one damn foot on the grass and all the sprinklers come on. I ran so fast I lost my shoes. And then after that, it pretty much never bothered me again. It looks like it's like we dropped it off. It was the weirdest thing, but that was pretty crazy.
Somebody else.
Yeah, that was the craziest thing that was the craziest thing that had happened to me since pretty much my issues with this dream thing.
Right. So I had a client that I was doing past life regressions, and I was also helping her through some stuff that she had been through. She had been sexually assaulted and stuff like that. So I was working with her and just getting her through that. But I kept, whenever I would get home, I started having these dreams. And this guy, very vivid dreams, and the guy was really good looking, and they really do come after you. And it was a sexual dream. I
Right.
wake up and it's like, whoa. So I did that 3 nights in a row, and I kept talking to her just to figure out, if she was okay. And then finally the last night he comes to me and he's telling me, you need to come with me. Just go ahead and come with me. I knew immediately what was going on. So as soon as I woke up, I called her and told her that it's not worth it. Committing suicide is not the answer.
Oh,
That's what it was.
Oh.
She kept having the dreams as well, and he was enticing her to commit suicide and go be with him. So that's where I was getting that on my side as well. And so I was able to help her through that, and we got rid of the attachment that was on her and helped her come through, figuring out what she needed to do to get the help for the attack that she had went through.
I just tell people to make like Tina Turner. What does love have to do with it?
Exactly.
Right? Bam.
I mean, it sounded to me, just as you were talking about it, Mike, that whatever that thing was when you were younger, it feels like an attachment, 100%. And for whatever reason, why it chose to attach to you, probably trauma. Trauma is a really, if you are spiritual in any sort of way, or have any sort of connection or any sort of belief in a lot of those things, even as a kid, if you don't recognize it, you have a connection, I think, to stuff a little bit more. I think you realize that more and more, but I think you've got one. And so things that, if you're in a bad place, a bad mental space, not in a stable environment, that's very easy for an attachment to come towards you in those moments and hold on to things. The thing in the playground in the field is very strange, and the only thing that it feels like to me is there's a lot of suggestion that we exist in the same time and space as a lot of things that we would see as frightening or scary. It's just a veil that we cannot see because we have been programmed to not see in that space and not exist in that space.
Yeah.
And so when that veil gets really thin, if there's somebody who's close enough for that veil to get really thin, you can start perceiving and seeing those types of things because they're existing with us. We're just not aware of them most of the time.
Exactly. And that's what I say, when you're walking around, you've got things around you all the time. And are you able to see them, feel them? That's where most people don't. You're just walking through and not paying attention to what's out there.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know what I mean? I do think, I think that's going to be, I think that'll be a show for a later date, is talking about, different alternate planes of existence. But to stay on topic, dreams and also past lives. So now let's get into a little bit into what does a past life mean to a paranormal investigator, right? So, for example, do either of you even believe in past lives, or do you think that's something of just a religious take, or what are your thoughts?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. We've both talked to a lady here. She's kind of our, I don't know what you want to call her.
She's our spiritual healer.
Spiritual coach.
Yeah.
I guess is a good way to put it. She gets very frustrated with both of us most of the time, but
she will give us a butt kicking if we need one.
Yeah, and she's told us repeatedly that she and I have found each other in multiple lifetimes. And that we are always going to be destined to find each other, whether it's just as friends, as family, as sisters, as something. She's like, this, you guys have this connection. And when we first met,
hi Lacey,
it was in an odd situation. We met at the Butterfly House because I was working there too, and a lot of chaos and negative stuff that was going on, and I ended up leaving. But
did you say the Butterfly House?
Yes.
Yes, the
The
butt
butt
flies. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. It's not what you think either.
That's good.
But there was just something there, and I can't remember what it was. Oh yeah, I do 100% remember what it was. I was sitting there, and it was probably my last week that I was working there, and she had a water tumbler, and she had here we go again. I'm sorry. She had a haunted museum sticker on her water tumbler.
Okay.
And so I said, "Oh, have you been there?" Because I have always wanted to go there, and I ended up going right after I met her. So something clicked there. But yeah, she said that it gets deep. You can go really deep into past lives. I'm sure MaryLynn will. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I haven't really gone down that path as like what it means in paranormal investigating. I guess if I would think about it, I mean, I actually feel like there's a lot of people that get drawn to places because of a past life experience.
Yes.
I fully believe that the reason that I am so intertwined and so like heart pulled to Deadwood is because I have lived there
Yes.
before.
I get that.
And
I mean,
like,
there's a reason I have a 500-foot restraining order against Chuck E. Cheese. So I'm with you.
yeah. So yeah, I think it's a lot. The past life thing. I don't understand why people can be so negative about it. Like you're talking about, there's a lot of people are like, nope, zero, nope, that doesn't
You're
happen.
afraid of it.
And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm like, how? There's so many things that when you really stop and think about things that happen in your life, if you can't sit there and go, what? Why? Why did that happen? I don't understand that. Why did I feel that way? Why did I have that thought in
Right.
my head? And you just brush it off. I mean, for me, the person that wants to dive into every bit of knowledge, I mean, I have those moments and I just want to just jump head first into something. And other people just can turn that switch off. I wish I could sometimes, but but yeah, totally think it's a big thing. And I really do think that some people go to locations. You always hear all the time on shows, I don't know what this was. I don't know about this. I don't know what it was, but I felt drawn to go to this place. You always hear that on different, watch a lot of ghost shows, a lot of paranormal investigators, and they will say that, and they're like, have no idea why.
Yep.
No idea why this house felt so familiar, or this drive. Why did this drive that I take feel so familiar? Well, yeah, is there a possibility you've been there before in the current life you're at? Maybe,
Do you
it could
mean sex
happen.
drive?
But
That too.
Okay.
yeah,
Cool.
What's interesting about past lives in the paranormal is not just being connected to locations, but sometimes I've come to find that sometimes certain spirits will interact with me in ways that are they don't make sense to me, versus other spirits. They might be overly interactive with me, whatever that spirit may be. And a lot of times I will ask myself, do I look like somebody that's familiar to them?
Sure.
Is my energy the same as what they're familiar with?
Sure.
I know that when I went and visited my friend in California and we went to the Queen Mary, both of us, her name is Sil. She's also very, very connected spiritually. She has a lot of gifts as well. But we both walked onto that ship and both felt like we were going to pass out when we got onto one of the decks. And we both said we had to have been on something very similar to this at one point together for us to have this
kind of
very similar reaction to being in that place. And yes, it is haunted, and yes, there are spirits there, and yes, you can feel the energy of them being there, but it's that sensation of walking into that space and going, why do I feel like I've been on a ship like this, or I know this, or it feels familiar? When we were in the front of the ship, we actually did the ghost tour together, which I give her so much credit. She said I would never do this with anybody else, but I'll do it with you. She does not like the haunted ghost stuff. She is not a fan. But they take you to the front half of the ship, and they tell you a story about when the Queen Mary was sailing with another ship. They were doing wartime maneuvers. She was known as the Gray Ghost because she was painted gray during wartime, used as a warship to carry people. Yep. And so she would disappear in the fog, which is why they called her a Gray Ghost. And as she was doing maneuvers, they don't know what happened, whether communication got cut off or something got lost, but she actually ran through the other smaller ship that was in front of her because she's huge. And at the time that
let's not bring weight into this, okay? We're not into shaming here.
And as she's telling the story of this, I'm in the front of the ship and I can hear the sound of a ship creaking and rocking back and forth while she's telling this story. And I looked at the guide and I said, I don't know what you believe about this, but I can hear as if I'm on the ship in the front of it, hearing the creaking sound as you're telling that story. I scared the guide. Wow. I'll just put it that way. I scared the crap out of the guide with half of the things that I was telling her, because I was telling her, oh, there's a man in this room, or there's a woman over here. And she'd be like, well, that's my story about the man and the woman over here. So she was a little weirded out.
I have an interesting story about the location of the Queen Mary. But first, MaryLynn, what is your take on past lives?
Oh, I completely 100% agree with them. You know, they're there, and people, it affects your lives as you are now. So I even say, you know, you like collections. Like for me, I like knives. I like, you know, all these different things. There's a reason for that, is because it's what you've had in your past life. So you're still drawn to those things. But most people do not have that ability or the knowledge to be able to bring those past lives up. And for me, it's like I mentioned before, afraid of heights. Well, the reason is because in 3 past lives, I've actually went off a bridge upside down in the water and couldn't save my kids in the car. So that's my fear of heights. And because I have those dreams over and over again, and because I kept trying to connect what's going on. So that's my fear. All the other stuff, you know, people, those collections, just everything that keeps the reoccurring dreams, they're trying to tell you something. And I tell everybody all the time, when you're dreaming, do a dream log. After a while, those dreams are going to tell you a story.
Yeah. That's interesting.
But, yeah, for past lives, everybody has a past life, multiple.
So I have my own interesting take on this.
Okay.
First off, Queen Mary. The location of the Queen Mary. What's really interesting about the location of Queen Mary is not too far away is a Burger King. I find that interesting. However, what I'm getting at is I actually had a business idea, and I thought it was going to be great. I wanted to open up a porcelain store that specialized specifically in toilets, just all different types of just beautifully mastercrafted toilets. However, for me, for the business model to work, location is paramount. Okay. So it had to be a place, and somewhere like the Queen Mary would be perfect, where there was a Burger King, a Queen Mary, and then mine would be called Taking a Duke. I think it would work. I'm just saying.
You know what we really need on these podcasts? Somebody needs to get what Josh Purvis has so that we can have sound effects, please. Because we really need that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So here's my own take on past lives. I can't say that I believe it. This is just a theory that I have. I believe that past lives are more probable than improbable. However, the math doesn't make sense to me. Okay. For example, let's go back 5,000 years. There was maybe 2 billion people on the planet. There's 8 billion people now. The math doesn't math, right? Sure, those 2 billion, and then let's go back another 5,000 years from that. There's maybe 8 billion. So it's continuously grown. sure, some of those people may be original that are continuing to live past lives, but where are all these other bodies coming from? Right? So this is where the math didn't math for me. So I said, okay, well, maybe past lives are a thing, and maybe there are people that are living past lives. And then it occurred to me that, I have some remembrances, but I only have flashes, right? I only have these moments in time that I remember. These very specific snippets. And none of them really coincide with each other. They're all from different timelines, right? So then it got me thinking, well, what if I am not living over and over again? What if that's not what's actually happening? What if just above or below our universe is this consciousness, right? And then when a body is formed and comes out, a little dip of this consciousness is grabbed and put onto that body. Now, in that consciousness is the collective of everything that every person has ever experienced in the history of history, which means you would get snippets, you get pieces, you get somebody that could be a complete, he could be 5 years old and a virtuoso on the piano, not know why or how, but in that cup, that's what he got. And then every time your body's done, your consciousness that was taken gets put back with all that extra stuff that you experienced. It gets added, which would also explain why over time we make improvements, we get better, we grow, we advance technology, right? So to me, maybe it's not so much that I was Sir Reginald Dumthwaite III of 1450. Maybe I was, but just a little bit. I could have, maybe if that's the case, I could have thousands of different places, which would also mean why certain areas you might be more attracted to than others, because that's just the piece you got.
So does that bring into the factor of people having multiple personalities?
That easily could, right? Especially if you are getting all these pieces of consciousness. It just means that's just something that you as a vessel just can't handle. And some people can't. You know what I mean? Sometimes the truth is too much for people.
It's very interesting.
That's a really interesting way to look at it and a cool idea. How do
Super
you
deep, right?
how do you feel about the idea though that there is, thinking of more people, I get it, the math doesn't math sometimes, but there's also a notion or a thought or a theory, so to speak, a belief that souls also can have the ability to split,
Sure.
and you can have one singular soul that splits off into two or splits off into more.
Well, now we're talking about
Which-
simulacrums and gestalting, right? Which is quite possible, which means if in that line of thinking, that line of reasoning, we would all essentially be one, all split from the same, right? So we could all, at some point at the end of existence, all come back together, which would also be very cool. But that again would support more of a collective subconsciousness, right? As we're all sharing and interlinked, which would also, which could also explain why you just have an initial reaction to certain people a certain way. I don't know. It's just an interesting working theory that I just found fascinating. And actually the whole reason it started was I was trying to decide for myself if heaven existed. That's actually how this whole thing started. And my end answer was no. And this is why. They call heaven the Silver City, right? So it's now, I went back, 5,000 years? Somewhere between several trillion people have come and gone within this time frame, right? Do you realize how fucking packed that city has to be? I don't want to go there. That was awful. So, and that was when I was like, well, maybe there is something. Maybe there is a hell. I don't know. Maybe this is hell. I don't know. But then it got me thinking about, well, what am I? How do I fit into all this? Am I something that's lived over and over again? Am I just collecting experiences? And if that's the case, why am I stuck on Earth? Why just Earth?
And I think we all have, a lot of us have those questions, is like, why are we even here?
Why? I'm right. But I think, and maybe dreams are also insight into either your past lives or into who you are or were as a being, as a whole. And
also help you kind of navigate through things that's happened in your life. It's your mind is still working through what has happened. It could be from a month ago and you dream of something, but it's still your mind is working through those processes. So that's why I think the dreams really do have meaning. So,
and I know what you're thinking. This is way too heavy for somebody that's a silly little bitch like me. It is true.
I was going to say, if you've gone down that path, then you probably have gone down the thought process that my techie husband has, where we're all in a simulation.
See, I don't buy that.
Oh, that is like, I mean, I have heard people talk about that. And they're like, well, so you're all in a simulation, and when you're dreaming is when you're your real self and you're like plugged in. I'm like, okay, this is too matrixy for me. But I mean, there's a part of it when people talk about it, man, there's some little bits and pieces of it that make sense.
Yeah.
Like, the whole deja vu thing. Was it really the whole Matrix? Was it really the same cat or was it a different cat? What did you just see? And it's like, well,
but I think that also leads into the past lives, because how many times have you experienced a scenario just like that? I mean, if you've lived eternally, the odds are nothing that we experience is really and truly new.
Right.
Which is fucking mind-blowing.
There's a dream that I had that actually might be kind of interesting with what you were talking about, Mike, and I'm pretty sure I've told MaryLynn about this.
Yeah.
Charity's heard about this, but I don't think you have necessarily heard this dream. So when we're talking about dreams...
Wow, that's incredible. So MaryLynn. No, I'm kidding.
I had a dream that I will never forget. It was the most profound dream I've ever had, and I woke up asking myself, what in the world was I supposed to take from that? What am I supposed to understand from this? And I remember certain dreams. I've remembered a lot of like bad dreams I've had as a kid and how those have affected me, but I've never remembered something to this extent. So basically I was standing on a walkway in the middle of space, what you would see as space. There was no bottom underneath of me. There was nothing on the side. There were no walls. There was nothing. It was an endless walkway. And there were stars and galaxies and planets all around me. And I looked around in the dream and went, where on earth am I? And when I turned to look in front of me, exactly. When I turned to look in front of me, there was a man that was in front of me that said, you need to follow me, but he wouldn't turn around and look at me. He wouldn't face me. So I started following him down to this path. And as we get to what felt like the end, because I said, oh, look, there's more stuff to look at. It's not just space and a long path to walk down. I kept saying to him, where are we going and what are we doing? And at one point, he just kind of looked over his shoulder and smiled and said, there's someone you're supposed to talk to. So I come up to what was golden stairs and a large throne up at the top. And I was like, wow, this is like some never ending story, Narnia crazy nonsense that I'm seeing right now. And there was a woman in the throne, beautifully dressed, couldn't quite get a full glimpse of her face because she was so bright that it was impossible to actually make out features. And he said, she's been waiting for you. Go talk to her.
So it is possible it could have just been a dressed up lava lamp. I'm just putting it out there. Okay.
Oh my gosh. And he stepped off to the side. He was still there. And I walked up the stairs and I got to the bottom of the throne. And I said, "What am I doing here?" And she said, "Go to the place where 4 souls become 2." And I said, "What does that mean?" And I woke up.
So
And it
have
was
you tried
such
to
a
find out what that
profound-
means?
Yes, I've been constantly racking my brain. And every time I ask, what we would call guides, "What does that mean? What do you want me to take from that?" They always say, "You'll find out when it's time for you to find out."
Well, I mean, to me, that would be a cemetery.
Why do
Yeah.
you say that?
Well, it's family. Where 4 souls become 2. It's a family, and the last generation dies, leaving just the 2. That's my take.
Okay.
That's just my instant analysis.
What's your take, MaryLynn?
Well, for me, the person on the throne, she is a guide for you, and she's your main guide that is trying to put you on the right path of where you're supposed to be going. So you're on that path, but once you get where you're supposed to be going, that's when you're going to get the resolution to that dream.
If only I would listen to instruction.
Yeah.
Exactly. And most of us don't.
Yeah.
And hi, Jenny. My daughter just popped in.
Well, I mean, it's got to be more than like, if it's a cemetery, it would have to be something a lot more specific. Something more specific to you, right?
But could it be 2 souls that have split off to become 4? So you've got
That come back together.
2 souls looking for their other half, and they finally join up with their other half.
So what about that being soulmates?
But it mentioned specifically a location where 4 souls become 2, not when. It's where.
That is the question, is where. The question is always, where exactly is that? What is that space that I'm supposed to be in where 4 souls suddenly come together to be?
Well, that helps you a lot, because now you're able, as a noun, you're able to basically, it's not a person, and it's not a thing. It's for a fact a place. Mm-hmm. Right? So could it be a McDonald's? I don't know.
Or the Burger King.
It could be.
A Burger King.
Right next to the Queen Mary. That could have been Queen Mary. We don't know.
Could be.
Could be a toilet store next to the
That's serious detective work right there.
So have you tried to do a past life?
I have never done anything with a past life regression. There are very, very detailed, specific things that I have reactions to that have led me to understand that I've had an experience somewhere. I just don't know what exactly it is.
Okay.
I'd be interested to do it. I've just never taken that. For example, as a child, I was heavily drawn to Egypt and Egyptian mythology, like to the point that I was obsessed with it, and it was my personality, and I was very strongly driven to the deities. Specifically, Anubis was a deity that I was heavily driven to. And
that just makes me think we were, because I was the exact same, and probably at the exact same age that you were. So
yeah.
Well, the thing is, whenever you meet somebody and you feel like you've known them, it's because you have. You meet people that you've met in past lives. And sometimes I say you can have more than one soulmate. You can have multiple soulmates, and you can have them as friends, kids, daughters, whatever it is. And whenever they come into the next life, they're in a different form, or they can even be a pet.
So are you familiar with the scarab?
Yes.
Yes.
I actually have one.
Nice.
From Egypt.
I have the actual insect that the scarab is. So it's called a Goliath gigantea, and they may actually be extinct by now. They were pretty rare back in the day, but I have 2, in fact.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And I have them because I was drawn to that beetle specifically from the Egyptian times.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that could actually be your spirit animal.
A dung beetle. Fantastic.
All the shit.
You did say you wanted to open a toilet store.
Yeah.
Just come in full circle.
You're just
it all swirls around.
The other dream, and of course, MaryLynn and I talked a little bit about this on TikTok, was that anytime I would see a boat half sunken, I would get nauseous and dizzy and start to feel heart palpitations.
Yep.
And I can dive on a wreck underwater and be completely comfortable, but any boat that is half sunken, I cannot handle. I can't be anywhere near it. I can't watch boats sink because it makes me incredibly uncomfortable.
Which half? Like the front half or the back half, or does it matter?
It doesn't matter.
Okay,
If the boat is sinking in any direction, tilted on its side, front, and like it's just got to sink.
So hold on. Now, could you visit like the USS Arizona? Because that is fully sunk, but you can see it like in the water. Does that bother you?
No,
Underwater, it should be
I
okay.
have to be underwater. I would panic seeing it from the surface.
Okay. That's interesting.
So my mom and I lived on the water, and we actually had the person that was across from us had a boat, and we had a storm come through and it started to sink because unfortunately it took on water. They couldn't pull it out fast enough to save it. And so I watched this boat sink and started to cry as I was watching it sink. And it didn't make sense to me at the time because I was like, I don't know this
Celine Dion
person's
song while
boat.
it happened? Did you sing the Celine Dion song while it happened, or?
I didn't, but I should have, and I should have also gotten a wooden door and like paddled halfway out and
try to
looked for a
save it.
person.
See if there really
that would-
was room.
Yeah.
But
I'm,
I would
gonna be
definitely
completely real.
go-
If that scene was legit, she would have just pushed his forehead and been like, "Oh no, there's no space for you."
Yep. Just go away now.
I mean, if it was me, I would have been like, "Sorry, there's no room on this door. I have to stretch out."
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what if I cramp? Hello. But that's really interesting. So I mean, with that, I've never really looked at it from a perspective of putting yourself in situations to see if you have a reaction like that, right? Because I've never really thought about it like that. MaryLynn, have you ever been like you talked about how the heights?
Yes.
But I mean, has anything else triggered? Like, I mean, like a bridge, for example, or a car in the water. Has anything else triggered you? Or
Oh, for me, it's bridges. Because I have to stay focused ahead. I'm gotten better that I've gotten older, but whenever I was younger, I had to go really slow over bridges and just over in the mountains. My first time driving in the mountain was in California. It really should have been about a 15-minute drive. It took me an hour to get to that area because I was going so slow. I had people behind me.
wow,
And what was bad is, this is the funny part. I was for work and I had a rental car. I looked up and I had a sunroof and there's buzzards flying around. I'm like, you're not getting me.
that's
Scared the
really
crap
interesting.
out of me.
I can't say driving in the mountains in Arkansas was entertaining. That's
Well,
what
we were
Kenny said?
in the van. We were in an
Okay.
enclosed van, and there was the whole family was with us, and I was in the back. I was getting sick to the
Wow.
point of any kind of movement. I thought I was going to die.
Wow.
So thanks for making me relive that, Jimmy.
Well, I've never, like, I'm fine with heights. When I was real young, my sister locked me outside in a lightning and thunder rainstorm. And I stayed in the back of a truck and I just stared up and just watched the magnificence that was the sky and it explode. And I'm like obsessed with lightning and thunder at this point. Like, to the point where if there's a lightning storm here in town, there's a couple of mountains that you can climb, and I have climbed them. And I've made friends climb them, and they hate me for it, by the way. But I would love to put myself in other situations to see if maybe I do have those type of reactions. Like, I've always been obsessed with chasing tornadoes, though I've never done it. I've been obsessed with being in a hurricane, though I've never been in one. I was obsessed with sailing, and I finally got to sail, and it turns out I love it. I'm totally okay with it. I never get seasick, which I thought I was going to. I thought for sure seasickness was going to be a thing, but so far I've managed to dodge that bullet, which is awesome.
So those sessions sounds like they're probably past lives.
Right. So that's really interesting. So I'm curious, and we talked a little bit about when I had that vision of falling through the roof and then getting beheaded.
Right.
I was heavily into martial arts. I'm obsessed with it. So, you know, I even to the point where I taught martial arts. I taught for almost 10 years. So that is pretty interesting. And also, which I can't explain, and why a 12-year-old, 11-year-old would have any business knowing this type of information. But I actually, at that time, created a formula for an engine to travel in outer space. Now, what's so weird about that is I had told a bunch of friends, I had told my teacher, I had shown them all my writings, I had shown them, and everybody's like, what? And then I would say maybe 8, 9, 10 years ago, my buddy calls me out of the blue and says, Mike, you were right. Elon Musk is using this exact same principle to create the train, the bullet train that's going from Las Vegas to California, exactly to the T. He's like, I don't know how you did it. Yeah, but I couldn't explain. Like, I'm not good at science. I can't math for shit. But for some reason, it was stuck in my head, right? So maybe that was something that I carried over from a previous life. I don't know.
Probably so.
There's no reason to say that. And here's another thing. Who's to say it's linear? Right? Who's to say that it doesn't do this? Right. Which means that not only could you be experiencing past lives, you could be technically experiencing future lives.
That's part of it too. I also have dreams. One of mine is, so you know I'm short. I'm only 5'2". So I had a dream that I'm looking out over this sea of people and dark hair, and I'm taller than them. And I'm just looking out, and I wake up and I'm like, what the hell was that? 3 months later, I get a job offer to go to South Korea.
Wow. And they're all itty bitties.
They were all a lot shorter than me. And then I went to Japan after that. So yeah, it was just really weird. It just the way it all tied in. But
and if that's the case, if it's not linear and it does do this, and you could do past lives and future lives, that would also explain how people can predict the future.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. So because I wonder if
already lived it.
With like knowing things, is the true meaning of possibly being clairsentient, where you just know things randomly, is that more of a past life or a future life coming in just sporadically giving you this information, or is it spirit giving you that information? I mean, that could be a question. Where's that information coming from?
Nobody cares, Charity. Nobody.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I think But yeah, I think it's
great.
And the spirit guides, and coming in and just being open to it. And everybody has intuition. It's just a whether or not you're open to allowing that to come to you. Not everybody's psychic. Not everybody can read the future and stuff, but everybody has that intuition, and it's the fight or flight. You get those instincts.
Yep.
Some people get intuition, other people get the inquisition,
That's true.
I have an interesting question when we're talking about dreams and past lives, and MaryLynn, how you said, I drowned while sinking on a ship. So that's why I have that. I have had, so it makes me wonder, when you, even though they may not be the best person in your life, even though when you're sharing your life or connecting with a person, I actually had my ex-husband have a dream about me drowning. And he's never dreamt about a person in his life drowning, but he dreamt about me drowning.
Yeah.
And so it makes me wonder about that weird energy connection that can happen through that, where he's getting some sort of download about what's happened to me before.
Yep.
And it's affecting his dreams.
Sure.
And that's like my husband, no psychic abilities whatsoever, but because he's seen me doing what we've been together for 20 years. So he's seen me doing this, and now he is starting to develop those. He won't admit it, but he does have feelings. He knows when things are happening. And it's like he'll pick up the phone to call me and I'll be calling him, and vice versa. Just little things like that. So when you're around that, you start getting those abilities yourself because you're opening up and you're listening. That's like when you're doing paranormal, when you're out there and doing those investigations. I tell everybody, when you go in, because the more you go into it, you're putting yourself in that situation so that you're going to open up. So with your husband doing those dreams, it's that energy. You're connected.
Unfortunately.
But you have to
The whole
look
thing
at
about
it
knives and severing connections.
you can cut those ties.
Honestly, we don't have that tie anymore. As you know, I'm very quick to throw up a wall.
Yes.
If I have
Yes, you
to.
are. And don't look.
Yes.
Don't look at me. Don't look at me.
So as we wrap up, I think we had chatted briefly via a messenger regarding Virginia City. Are you guys planning on coming down in April?
Oh boy, that's a big question. We can try. We're still going to look into it a little bit. We are going in March to New Iberia.
Yep.
That's the one in
for,
Louisiana, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, we will
So-
be there.
Yeah, you guys are going.
Right after my surgery.
Yeah, so she'll be just out of surgery, so I might need help carrying her around if anybody's
Right.
got any.
They're shoveling out parts of you.
Yeah,
Yes.
Pretty
Okay.
much.
They are.
Sweet.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, we would love to come to Virginia City. It's
Yep.
just debating on whether it's the one in April or if we come
July.
later on in the year to the
July.
other one, just depending on
Yeah.
that money saving aspect of things. And me
Yep.
being out of work for 3 weeks is gonna suck.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
right.
and,
Oh,
you know, we really, really hope that Tara and Ryan go do the Deadwood event
Yes.
again, because
Right.
I think
Wow.
that would be a lot of fun. And I know Kim and Scott are kind of going to be iffy about whether they're going to be able to be there or not, because they'll be moved
Right.
Yep.
by that time. And I had reached out to Tara and I said, hey, you want somebody that's there local in South Dakota to, help run that, do whatever you want. We're there for you. So
Yep.
that's one thing we really want to do. But we really pulled quick on the Louisiana one, just because it's kind of on a bucket list for both of us. We've never been, neither one of us have been there. So we're staying an extra.
to Louisiana as a state as a whole, or
Yeah.
okay.
I mean,
Yep.
never been there.
I watched a guy die in Louisiana.
You what?
Yeah, I watched a guy die.
Oh,
Yeah.
get eaten by an alligator?
Nope. Drugs. He OD'd right there on the streets of New Orleans. Nolans.
Oh
New
man.
Orleans. Yeah.
Yep.
If you get a chance to go
Orleans.
to New Orleans, go there because that's definitely a hot spot.
I went,
That's
oh man, this is crazy.
That's why
And then
we're
we
staying
went to
some extra
IHOP.
time to do that.
Yeah, we're gonna stay that
Yeah.
extra day. And we reached out to the people that are running the con there, and they're like, yep, here's a list of places. Talk to this guy about doing a tour, go do this, go do that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe we should have stayed 2 days.
That's awesome.
So, Mike, we need to hook up with them to find out where they're going to go and stuff because we're going to be doing some filming.
Yes.
Nope.
Oh,
Yes.
nice. Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But Virginia City is a bucket list place
Yeah.
for me because I've seen lots of things about Virginia
God.
City.
Wow,
I've seen
you-
documentaries on it about how people feel when
Yeah.
they're there. So
Well,
Yeah.
we're going to be filming there in April.
Yeah.
So that'll be really
Yeah.
cool.
Well, and I'm going back to think, like going way back to when all the ghost shows first started. I'm pretty sure the Washoe Club was like one of the very first places that
Yep.
they did the documentary at. Again,
Yep.
they who shall not be named.
Yeah, that was back when it was just the show club. It wasn't even washed yet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
yes.
We're still working on it. I did reach out to Tara about sponsorships and some things. So we're trying to get there. We'll see.
Yep.
It's
Okay.
kind of hard sometimes with working around,
So how can people find you guys on the interwebs?
on the interwebs. We don't have a website yet. We're just on Facebook and
That's the
Instagram.
interweb.
I think we do have TikTok.
I am creating the TikTok
I'm
as we
creating
speak.
TikTok. TikTok and I do not get along very well.
I
Okay,
just
that's
started mine last week. Mike made me get it. So
I did, yeah.
Well, I had to get it because of my job with the Lego store with Bricks and Minifigs, because Jen's we gotta have a TikTok. We have to
you
put
work
these
at a
things, and
Lego store?
I'm like, pay somebody else.
Did you say you work at a Lego store?
Yes,
She
I do.
does.
Okay, I got with you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I run their events and their marketing for the Sioux Falls store, and then we also own the store up in Minnetonka, Minnesota.
Nice.
So I kind of help with that, but yeah,
Okay.
doing events and things like that. And then of course I just recently got on board with a director position with the Rescue Network, which is, it's a nonprofit rescue for all the pups and kits.
Well,
And
we do look for places to do for nonprofits, so we may, talk with you on that as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if I remember, Michelle, you work at the zoo circumcising lizard wieners.
Wrong. I would never actually do that.
That'd actually be a cool job.
I feel like because lizards have two, that would just take a lot of time.
Yeah.
To do
Double
that.
the pleasure, double the fun.
Than necessary. Jesus.
Double the mint and double mint gum. That's all I'm saying.
I hang out with fish and butterflies and lots of people with neurodivergence all day.
Yeah.
And that's all of my staff. But I'm the director at the Butterfly House and Aquarium for both the aquarium and the conservatory.
That's awesome.
And we merged with the Great Plains Zoo, which is our local zoo. So we're hoping within the next couple of years to actually all be on one campus and to have a brand new aquarium built. So
Very cool.
I'm currently in the beginning stages of aquarium construction, and my brain will melt out of my ears by the time we get into aquarium construction.
Right.
I actually worked for a zoo for a while, but this is a conversation for another time. But just remind me and I'll tell you about it.
Oh, okay. Got it.
All right, guys, that will be our show. Please, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Please follow Gypsy Witch Paranormal, MaryLynn Bast, our psychic extraordinaire, and of course me, Booty Snoopolopoulos. Snoopolous.
Can't even say your own last name.
I can't even.
Forgot his own last name.
Yeah, I forgot how to say it. We will tune in next week. Oh, actually, no show next week. We will be filming.
Show next week. Yes, we'll be filming.
Yeah, but we will throughout the next week. We will drop little tidbits of fun stuff for everybody. So that'll be cool.
And thank you guys for joining us. And I'll start our outro.
We are the Winklebergs.
Thanks for
Only
letting
on
us
Clue.
join. We love
Thanks,
you
guys.
Yeah, it was great.
We'll have you guys back on.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yep.